guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I have a special topic video where I talk about all my favorite comic books of 2015. So that means every single pick of the week for the year, including this week's pick of the week, because technically comics came out December 30th, even those delayed Marvel comics. So let's get started. I'll give them a little tidbit about what I thought about the comic, and some editing in this video. I do have the picture of the comic on the side, that way you guys can see what I'm talking about. So let's get started and talk about all the comics I really enjoyed this year. So starting off with the book that actually came out in January last year, and that was Ant-Man issue 1. This is the only Ant-Man book that made it into my pick of the weeks, but I love this book, and still it really is one of my favorite comics of the year. And this is like top 5 wise. Like, I really enjoyed this book because I thought it was a great return to Scott, and it was great to see Cassie and Scott react to each other and interact with each other now that Cassie was back. Next is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 3, Issue 7. Now, with this book, we see that Superman has his happily ever after. Of course, Injustice Gods Among Us is about what if Superman went evil, and what if Lois died. And here you get to see a what if story of a what if story, and it is definitely one of my favorites of the series, really. Next is another Injustice Gods Among Us comic, and that is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 4, Issue 2. And I feel like this is probably just one of those, I guess, weaker weeks, so it wasn't like a mind-blowing comic, but I still put it on my pick of the weeks for that week. And that was, again, Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 4, Issue 2. It was a fun interaction with Harley and Shazam, and also Renee dealing with Huntress's death. Alright, so next is a series that blew my mind in 2015, and that was Invincible. So Invincible, issue 116. And with this issue, we see that Invincible and Adam Eve say goodbye to their home, really, and we see them dealing with being parents and how their parents deal with them leaving. So I love this issue, and it was a great goodbye to Earth, which I'm sure they'll return to. Next is Invincible issue 123, and this is actually the adjustment of going away from Earth and dealing with this new planet, which there's a lot of issues about that, but this one in particular was a lot of fun. Another series I feel like a lot of people did not talk about this year, but I really enjoyed, was Graveyard Shift issue 2. Now, this was a vampire story, which was a little cliche, but it worked because it focused on the romance between our main detective character, who's a human, and sees all his friends die by vampires, and then find out that his fiance becomes a vampire. And we see, is she evil, is she not evil? And it was just a ton of fun. I wish more people actually read this book, and it was by Jay Faber, who is writing now Copperhead, which I actually have not seen released in a while, so hopefully that's not delayed or canceled, but I enjoy Copperhead also. Okay, so next is the only Green Arrow book you're going to see on this list, because this run I loved. It was my favorite run of the New 52, but it only lasted like 5 issues, and that was when the Arrow team, the TV show Arrow, took over Green Arrow, and Green Arrow issue 39, because we get to see Mia Dearden, we learn who her father is, and I like the artwork. I liked how they were able to blend the New 52, the pre-New 52, and Arrow all in one comic, and I definitely missed that run. Alright, so next is something I actually forgot came out in 2015. I thought it was a 2014 book, and that was Smallville Continuity issue 3, and I'm going to add in issue 4 here too. So these are 2 books that were my pick of the week, and this was just a great ending to an awesome tie-in book, where we get to see Blue Lanterns, you get to see all your favorite characters team up from the TV show, or, you know, characters that were introduced in the comic. So I love this comic, and I wish we could get more Smallville, and definitely more series from Brian Q. Miller, because he's one of my favorite writers. Alright, so moving on to a series that had its ups and downs. I was definitely getting used to the series, but when the series was good, it was really good, and that was Batgirl. So Batgirl issue 39. With this issue, definitely one of my favorite issues of the series so far, at least with the new run, and that is when Batgirl fights herself, and you find out about the computer virus, and then Frankie learns that she's Batgirl, Barbara's Batgirl, and I've enjoyed Frankie's character so far, even though she's like taking the Oracle place. I think she's an interesting supporting character. The last Batgirl book on my list is Batgirl issue 41, and this I wanted more from with issue 42, but I loved issue 41, where we get to see Jim Gordon and Barbara fight each other, because Jim Gordon, as Batman, does not know that his daughter is Batgirl, and here it was more plausible than other books when they actually did team up. So I hope we get to see more interaction with them before Jim Gordon's not Batman, because we know it's not going to last too long, especially if Bruce Wayne becomes Batman again, but yeah, this was a really fun issue, but issue 42 did disappoint me when they didn't really do much with the relationship. So that's all the Batgirl books. Next is the only Daredevil book here, which I don't know if we'll see Daredevil next year because I'm not loving the new run yet, but Mark Waid's Daredevil issue 13. And that, it was a really good issue for Kristen and Matt. Kristen showing that she's able to hold her own, and I've enjoyed Kristen a lot as a character, and it's a shame we haven't seen her yet in the new run, but supposedly we're supposed to, which I'm glad, but it doesn't seem like she knows that Matt's Daredevil. Alright, so moving on to a mini-series, the first issue. There's going to be a lot of issue 1s here, because I thought there was a lot of great issue 1s, and just in general, a lot of issue 1s this year. And this was Princess Leia issue 1, and I could say this was actually the book that got me into the Star Wars franchise. I could call myself a casual fan of Star Wars now, and I really do enjoy Star Wars, and Princess Leia definitely was the reason why. Her character and this book. Hopefully we get to see more Princess Leia in 2016 to expand upon her character, but I thought this miniseries was okay, but the issue 1 really blew me away. Moving on to a series that I thought was a pleasant surprise. I did not expect to like as much as I did, and that was Silk issue 2 and Silk issue 7. So with Silk issue 2, I hope they can actually pick up this story where we see that Cindy encounters her high school sweetheart and where he's at now and how important he was in her life. So hopefully we get to see him again, because I thought he was a really interesting character. And then issue 7 was the End of the World issues, the last issue of the first volume, and I thought it did a really good job with the brother arc, finding out what happened to her brother, and hopefully they can expand upon that in the new series, which we have seen touched upon, but not really delved into too much. I guess they're saving the family plot for later, which we've been waiting a while for anyways. Another book, which just was one of my favorite issues, really, of the year, again, top 5, top 10 material, and that is We Can Never Go Home, issue 1. This was a fun miniseries, and also a really original miniseries, where it's a series about teenagers, where you're like, alright, we've seen this before, obviously, but you haven't. It's a really cool series to learn more about these characters, and the artwork was really gorgeous also, so I really can't wait for the next volume in 2016. Alright, so next is, I guess, a series that's been either you really liked it or you didn't, and that was Spider-Gwen for me. Now, I did enjoy Edge of Spider-Verse a little bit more than the first volume of Spider-Gwen, but still, I thought there was a lot of great Spider-Gwen issues to enjoy. Now, on my list, there's Spider-Gwen issue 3 and Spider-Gwen issue 4. Spider-Gwen issue 3 was great to see Punisher versus Gwen, and Punisher finding out Gwen's identity very quickly and seeing what he does with that. And the fight was just awesome in that issue. And then Spider-Gwen issue 4 with Aunt May and Gwen's discussion with each other, where obviously Gwen knows that she's Spider-Woman, and seeing how Aunt May feels about Spider-Woman even after Peter's death, and how much obsession Peter had with Spider-Woman. Next is a book that I loved issue 1, but I didn't like the series after that, and I read throughout the series, but that was Savior issue 1. I loved the painting style artwork, which I think worked so well for this book. I loved the journalism. I really liked a lot of the monologues here and the events that happened, but I don't think the series ever lived up to issue 1, sadly, but issue 1 did blow me away, and if you're looking for a good issue 1, Savior definitely had that. And that was from Image. Next is the only Uncanny X-Men book I had here, but Uncanny X-Men issue 33. This was just such a fun book, and if you're looking for a book to go back to the roots of the X-Men, I really think you should read this, because it's Kitty and Magic teaming up, and obviously they've had a bit of a shaky relationship with Kitty not being with classes anymore, but it's Magic asking, are we still friends? And Kitty's like, of course, and it's them helping this young mutant, and just bringing that young mutant to the school, and that is definitely old roots of X-Men, but obviously with a modern twist, and I really enjoyed this issue, and the relationship between Magic and Kitty. Another X-Men related book was definitely the best event of the year. You know, I'm including Secret Wars and Convergence, and the best event of the year for me was Black Vortex, and the issue I picked was Black Vortex and Mega, which was the finale of Black Vortex, where we get to see Kitty get engaged with Peter, we see who keeps their powers, and I thought this is the way you should do an event, where you see characters that cross over with each other that usually don't cross over with each other. There's actually consequences in the end of the book, and there's a lot of fun character interaction. And I think Black Vortex did that very well, especially the last issue. Moving on to Batman. This is the only Batman issue on the list also, but Batman issue 40. Another beautiful book where it was the poetic ending with Batman and the Joker. Now, of course, we all know they're not actually dead, but if you wanted to stop reading Batman forever, I feel like if you've only read this book and you wanted the ending for Batman, I thought this was actually a really good way to end Batman's story, where you get to see, obviously, him die with the Joker, and I really enjoyed the issue. Alright, next is my favorite issue of the year, and that is Thor issue 8. I've never been a big Thor fan until Jason Aaron's run of Thor, and seeing Jane Foster as Thor, because always the problem I had with Thor, for me personally, I was never able to connect to it because Thor was a god, and that's it. And with Jane, she's a god, but she's also mortal, and dealing with mortal things like having cancer, and still wanting to be a god. And I was always rooting for Jane Foster to be the new Thor, especially with the big mystery going on in 2014 leading into 2015. And to find out that Jane was Thor, I was really happy, because there's so many possibilities of story you could tell with her that we're just seeing now in the end of 2015, and hopefully continue in 2016. Alright, so next is the last Thor-related book, and that is Thor's issue 2. And I thought this miniseries kind of ended badly, but I liked it up to pretty much the second to last issue. And I enjoyed the mystery of it. I liked the idea of there being multiple Jane Fosters, but I didn't like that we didn't really get to see Jane Foster in the book. And I guess that's the idea of Secret Wars I didn't like in general, was that your book stopped for such a long time, and then when you finally get the reveal of Jane Foster, and you waited so long, you had to wait like 5 more months for Jane Foster to have her story. So that kind of annoyed me, and it kind of like poked fun at it as we read the miniseries, because like, oh yeah, Jane will be in this book, and never was really in the book. Alright, so moving on to another Secret Wars book, and that was Spider-Verse issue 1. And even though the artwork could have been a little bit better, I love the chemistry in this story, and I didn't expect to love it. There's characters you would, again, not expect to really interact, like Spider-Man India, or, you know, Spider-Man UK and Spider-Gwen, but they just had great chemistry, which is definitely continuing in Web Warriors that's going on right now. So next is a miniseries, which I'm just going to combine Broken World issue 1 and Broken World issue 2. This also had a little bit of disappointing ending, but issue 1 blew me away, because we follow this woman who's a professor, and it seems like the world's ending, and her family goes on this ship to leave Earth. And she has to, because she's done something in her past, she has to forge her papers, and the government finds out about it. So she stays on Earth by herself, and it's cool to follow her journey of what happens. And she actually never does meet with her family, which is a little disappointing. But love this book, and the uniqueness and the artwork by Christopher Peterson was gorgeous for it. Alright, moving on to my favorite DC title of the year, and that was Starfire. So Starfire issue 1, and I was blown away by this issue because it's funny, it's grounded, but it's also a superhero book. And I think Palmiotti and Amanda Connor did such a good job with this book, and I'm still enjoying it to this day, and I can't wait to see where it goes in 2016. Moving on to a Zenescope book, which I hope they can make an ongoing from this, and this is Grimm Fairy Tales 10th Anniversary Red Riding Hood, Issue 2. This is proof that we need a Red Riding Hood book. I love werewolf stuff, and I know Brittany is definitely a big part in the Grimm Fairy Tales universe, but she's definitely not had enough stories in my opinion. So I hope Zenescope's listening, and we could definitely get an ongoing for Red Riding Hood. Alright, so now we're moving on to a mini-series, which again I'll combine, and that is Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, Issue 2 and Issue 3. With Issue 2, we have Annie dealing with her powers, which is a lot of fun, seeing Mary Jane and Peter Parker's daughter dealing with her powers, where she can't deal with it, and her parents don't want her to deal with the powers. And then Issue 3, we get to see Peter dealing with his past, and again, the reveal of Annie's powers and the government kind of looking for her, but then targeting the Power Pack, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, great miniseries and one of the best things that came out of Secret Wars. Another Secret Wars title, Years of Futures Past, Issue 3. And this was definitely the best issue of the series for me, and that's when Cameron was revealed to be Kitty's son. And even though I felt like it was a very dense series, I definitely enjoyed this one because obviously Kitty Pryde was the main character pretty much, and it was interesting to see kind of this darker tone X-Men and apocalyptic X-Men, which again we've seen a billion times, but I thought it worked for the series, and I really liked the artwork also. Another just fun mini-series from Secret Wars, and that was Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde, one of my favorite mini-series of the year, really. And with this, it was great to see, yes, it's a different version of Kitty, but it wasn't a different version of Star-Lord, and the artwork was gorgeous and cartoony and fun. That's what I'm saying. The series was just a lot of fun. Alright, so next is another book where I don't know if the series has lived up to Issue 1, but still definitely intriguing, and that is The Beauty, Issue 1. I was blown away by the first issue of this series because of the original concept of people having a sexual disease that made you beautiful, but of course there is a consequence to that. And hopefully the next issues in 2016 can live up to the idea of what they presented in Issue 1. Next is my favorite, well, at least one of my favorite series of the year. It is number 2 on my last topic video list, top 10 series of 2015, and that is Revival. And I picked Revival issue 32 and Revival issue 35, which was my pick of the weeks. Issue 32, we get to see an epic issue of Dana versus Emma. Why did I say Emma? Dana versus M, where they're fighting each other, and it's finally revealed to the town that M is a reviver. So it was definitely a tense issue. And then issue 35 is when M breaks out Dana from the place that she's at, and they are now runaways. They're fugitives. That's especially important because Dana is a police officer and breaking the law. So very, very good series. And it's sad to say that Revival is Revival. I don't know why I said Reviver. Anyways, Revival is ending in 2016. Next is a one-shot I wasn't even gonna originally pick up, but blew my mind after Mike Spireslayer recommended it for the week, and that was Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra. Now this was just a really fun original concept because we get to see an Agent of Hydra doing his normal routine. He has a family, and really being part of Hydra is just a job. It's a paycheck, and it was a lot of fun to see that original concept. Next is another great series, and that's Miss Marvel. The ones that made it was Miss Marvel issue 18 and Miss Marvel issue 19. Issue 18, and this is all part of the arc of Secret Wars and the Last Days. In issue 18, we get to see Kamala's mom find out that she's Miss Marvel, and it was just a really great moment between them. And also you get to see a lot of the other secondary characters get a moment to shine, and that I really enjoyed. And then issue 19, it's officially seeing the world end, and having that part with Bruno and Kamala saying goodbye to each other and saying how they truly feel. Next is the book that actually made me want to pick up Grayson again, and that was Grayson issue 12. Still one of the best issues, again, of the year, in probably my top 10. With this issue, we finally see Dick Grayson reveal to his family that he is alive, and it was great to see how everyone interacted with that and how they dealt with it. And I keep saying, I think Grayson really is at its best when they deal with the Bat family stuff and not so much the super spy stuff, at least in my opinion. Moving on to the best series of the year, in my opinion, and this is a book I never expected to say, hey, this is my favorite book of the year, and that is Archie. Archie issue 3 and Archie issue 4, and both issue 1 and issue 2 were definitely in my top 5 that week when it came out, because I'm blown away how they rebooted Archie, Mark Waid and Fiona Staples. It's such an amazing series, and it's just it modernizes, I guess that's a word, Archie and Riverdale, really. And it's just a great series that made me really fall in love with these characters. So Archie issue 3 is when we meet Veronica, and I've become a huge Betty fan now, and it was really cool to see how Betty reacted to Veronica and seeing how different they truly are. But it's not this, like, love triangle stuff they're trying to do. It really does feel organic, and again, modern, the way they're handling the love triangle. And then Archie issue 4, where we actually learn what #lipstick incident is. And it definitely didn't let me down. And obviously that's been a big, it was a big hype thing that happened in issue 1. Everyone wanted to find out what this incident was about. And when we found out, it was definitely worth it. Next is another series I am really enjoying, and that is Paper Girls issue 1. And the mystery that they established in issue 1 was great. It's still the mystery they're establishing throughout the series, because you don't know if it's religious, if it's alien, what is it? Like, we don't know what the series is about. But the characters are so interesting, and they give you just enough every issue where you're just loving the series. Next is a series I haven't heard anyone talk about, but I love the first issue and the second issue, but the first issue was my pick of the week, and that was Sunflower issue 1 by 451 Media Group. And with this book, the artwork is gorgeous, the coloring is gorgeous, and we see a widowed mother find out that her daughter might still be alive, and her going through every path to try to really figure out where her daughter is. Great book. Another book that I love this year, Black Magic issue 1, and I'm loving this series in general. I love the noir tone of the book. The coloring and artwork is gorgeous, and the main character is truly interesting. Finding out exactly, or really finding out more about this magical world and I guess Wiccan world, but also still being a suspense crime drama. So love this book so far, and issue 1 truly blew my mind. So next is Invincible Iron Man issue 3. Now I feel like this was a bit of a weaker week why this was pick of the week, but still this book is amazing. I don't think there's been an issue that really is like, oh my god, this has to be pick of the week, but I love the artwork for the series, and I do think the series has a lot of possibilities in the future, and artwork is gorgeous for this book also. Next is Superman American Alien issue 1 and Superman American Alien issue 2. It is on a streak because issue 3 has not come out yet, and both issues have made my pick of the week. Issue 1 was wonderful because of the childlike wonder of Clark Kent. So that was like his 8-year-old kind of phase of his life. And then you have Superman American Alien issue 2, which deals with the teenage years, and it was okay to be gritty. And at first I'm like, oh my god, the artwork is a bit too gritty. But here it definitely worked because, again, it's his teenage years. It's the rebellion for Clark Kent. And I like that all Smallville knows that he is, you know, at least has powers. And I thought that actually worked for this universe of American Alien. Next is the Mighty Thor issue 1. I guess there was another Thor book. This book, I really liked how they started it out because we get to see the balance between Jane Foster, who again is dealing with cancer, and also her being a god, and in Asgard being wanted. So there's a lot of great storylines going on, and hopefully they can ground the book a little bit more, because issue 2 was very much more in Asgard, but love this book, and I, again, love that Jane Foster is Thor. Alright, so we have 2 more books left, actually 3, because I still have the one from this week. So next is The Violent issue 1, an Image book that really surprised me. I didn't know anything about the book. I was just like, oh, this looks interesting. I I bought it, and it was so real and grounded, where we get to see this family who, you know, the father has been in jail, the mother has been a drug addict, and they deal with it in a real way. And it's two people trying to change, but circumstances make them have definitely a lot of obstacles. And I can't wait to read more of The Violent in January when we do get issue 2. And then next is Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat, issue 1. I had a lot of fun with this. I thought it was a really well done, all ages type book where you get to see new readers really enjoy it. And for me, who I've read Hellcat before, I really enjoyed it too, bringing throwbacks to her romance days and also, of course, her days in hell. So I really enjoyed that book. And my last pick of the week is Morning Glories issue 49. Really glad that this series did make my pick of the weeks for 2015. There's only one issue, but I guess it was because of the delays. But I love this issue because we really get to see more answers with the headmaster and really the whole school in general. So you get a lot more clues than we have in the past. So it makes me really excited for 2016 when we will get the season finale of Morning Glories with issue 50. So those are all the comics, all the pick of the weeks of 2015. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the roundup, because throughout the year I do enjoy collecting all the information and all my pick of the weeks for the year and seeing which company got more pick of the weeks than others. So let's look at the tally. Which company got more pick of the weeks? So we are going to go to the first company, which is 451 Media Group, which got 1 pick of the week. Zenoscope, which got 1 pick of the week. Black Mask, which got 1 pick of the week. Archie, which got 2 pick of the weeks. Boom Studios, which also got 2. Image, which I think one of the biggest totals I've ever had from Image Comics, with 11 pick of the weeks. DC Comics, with probably the lowest I've seen for DC Comics with pick of the weeks, which is 12. And Marvel got 22 pick of the weeks. So thank you guys for joining me for this kind of longer topic video and recap of 2015 for pick of the weeks. I always collect these comics throughout the year, and it's kind of fun to see which books I liked more from which companies, and just to kind of look back at which comics got pick of the weeks most. So let me know in the comments below what books you really enjoyed this year that really stood out to you. So I hope you guys had a good 2015, even though technically it's 2016 now. And I'll see you guys later. And yeah, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.